welcome to the PoppyHarp Inspire Podcast. I am so thrilled to be able to share another set of incredible harpists and musicians for this year's podcasts. We are so lucky, and thank you so much to all the harpists and musicians that have got involved. We have an incredible lineup for this year, so strap in for an awesome adventure. There will be one new video podcast released every month this year. Thank you for your support and your suggestions. Hopefully I've fulfilled them all, but if you have any more, please do get in touch at info@poppyharp.com. Happy poppy harping, everybody. There are some incredibly inspirational harpists out there, and one is most definitely today's guest, Eira Lynn Jones. Eira is a composer, music educator. She was head of the Royal Northern College of Music for a very long time. She's now performing everywhere and anywhere with ensembles, solo. Her career has been so diverse, and this podcast is all about her career and how to make it as a professional harpist. It's so interesting. I had such a lovely chat with her, and I hope you enjoy this podcast as much as I enjoyed recording it. Happy poppy harping, everybody. Hello, Eira. It's so lovely to have you on the PoppyHarp Inspire podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and great to see you again too after a few years.
Yeah, well, we've met a few times, I think mainly on Harp on White Festival.
And I came to your shop in...
You did?
To the competition.
You were one of the very first people that did sort of one of our Inspire days, actually. I did the competition in the day. So that was in 2019. That was a long time. Wow.
Yeah. Time just goes crazy.
I've met you a lot of times, but I don't actually know a lot about your story. And I think lots of people don't know about your story. We know that you're the Royal Northern Head of Harp extraordinaire for years and years and years and years, but now you're incredibly busy, and I bet you were incredibly busy before you did that. Where did it all start for you?
Well, I grew up in mid Wales, near Aberystwyth, and obviously there were harps around as it's the main instrument of Wales. So when I was 5 years old, I vaguely remember seeing a harp in somebody's house, and I was terribly excited about this. And like most people, I probably said, I want to play the harp. And my parents said, well, maybe you should have a bit of piano lessons first. And somebody gave us a free piano. So that was what I did until I went to secondary school. And then I still wanted to have a go and eventually got lessons. Like most people, the journey as a musician is never easy. There were quite a few obstacles before I actually got the lessons. But I think if you're determined enough to keep going, then, that stands you in good stead for everything else in life. By the time I got to these lessons, I could read very well. I knew the repertoire. So it was a fairly quick progression. The moment I decided that I really wanted to be, a musician was when I had my first experience of orchestra. So the Philharmonica of Aberystwyth, which was the town orchestra, which is still going even today, they made a big fuss of having a young harpist, and I got a taste of doing a cadenza. And it's a cadenza by Balakirev. It's a Russian composer in his first symphony. I've never played it since, but they found this obscure, fairly straightforward part to inspire me, and it really set me off on this journey. First of all, I wanted to be an orchestral player. That was my dream. And then from then, how do you do it? In that time, there was no social media. I didn't have role models who'd done this kind of thing. But I did have some excellent teachers who said, well, music college, I think you're a great candidate for. Let's have a go. And I chose to go to the Royal Northern College of Music in Manchester and studied with Jean Bell, who was the orchestral player at the Halle. And she gave me, the best training I could possibly have for orchestral work. And also on how to be a good musician, which is being very well prepared. So that was what I got from her. And then I was all set to go to London to do an orchestral training course at Goldsmiths College. And my head of strings intervened and said, no, you need to do something completely different. Playing an orchestra, you've got that. You're finding that straightforward. I think you should get out of your comfort zone and meet this harpist called Kathleen Bride. She's an American. She's in London next week. Go and have a lesson with her. And she blew my mind, basically. And I ended up going to New York, studying with her for 2 years. Now, she studied with Marcel Rongenet. So suddenly I was introduced to that side of harp technique and harp sound, and also met a lady who was so passionate about her teaching. She changed the course of my life. In some ways, I had planned to go in one direction, and then I've continually, fate or people have kind of changed my path, and that's been great.
All of the things you've said have inspired you. I'm very close friends with a lot of the people you have inspired, and you've inspired them in their orchestral playing and their teaching, and they're just flying. So it's just so lovely seeing your journey, and you've given that journey to all of your students as well. It's lovely. That's lovely to hear. It's really lovely, and it has passed down, because it's so lovely hearing about Rosanna Moore, who's one of your long-time students, Lucy Nolan and Sophie Rocks. They're all just flying and doing such incredible things. But you're doing a lot of orchestra now as well, aren't you?
Yes, when I came back from America, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a freelance harpist. I was principal harp with Northern Ballet Theatre for about 8 years, I think. But I've always wanted freedom in my life. I have to be honest about that. I don't like being put in any kind of box. So after 8 years, and it was thoroughly enjoyable, and I learned a lot. I've been freelancing ever since, and I think the orchestra I'm most associated with is the Halle, working there with the principal harpist, Marie Lienhardt, for I think 28 years now, maybe more. I don't like to add up the numbers, but we've been, as a team, as a sectional for all these years, because you never know what the programs are going to be like. Will they need 2 harps? Will they need 1 harp? I've always been active doing other things in my life. Nowadays, they call it a portfolio career. In those days, it was, how do you pay the bills and pay the mortgage? You couldn't just depend on one thing. And I think the advice I would give to many young harpists is to, do different things, because it challenges you, and you meet all kinds of people. So yes, I'm still doing a lot of work in Manchester with the Halle.
So what have you got coming up? Can we come and see you perform with anything over the Christmas period? Have you got anything lined up?
I have a lovely project with a choir in December, and that's going to be in Spilsey, which is in Lincolnshire, and it's a collaboration between a choir and a harpist, and it's just bringing people in to experience something quite magical. It'll be a candlelit concert. It'll be a lot of unusual music to make them think. There'll be a meditation piece, the Sabbath carols, obviously, and a few other things. So I'm looking forward to that. Lots of Christmas concerts everywhere. But the main thing I'm going to be doing in 2026 is a solo tour of a new CD. I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, but
well, go for it.
What I'm going to be doing 2026 is all about this CD. And for the past 3 years, I've been working with a composer, Martin Ellerby. Again, I met him slightly by accident during the pandemic. He wanted some help editing his harp parts for another piece. I initially turned him down because I was actually flat out with so many online projects, but I started playing his music to get an idea, and I just literally fell in love with the music. He was prepared to wait until I had more time. I edited the piece, then recorded it for him, and asked him, would you write a little harp solo for me rather than give me a fee? I just would love that. And he said, I'm giving you a fee, but I've already started writing a sonata. So there is a sonata. And then out of the blue, because our collaboration was so good, it was very holistic, it was very honest from the start, he began writing more and more stuff for me. So there's a whole CD of brand new music for harp coming out. And, every note I've discussed with him practically. Haven't changed. It's not my job to change what he's written, but I would advise on what would work or didn't work. So 2 suites, a sonata, a couple of pieces for Clarsach, which is lever harp, pieces for alto, flute and harp, and 4 sonnets for harp and chamber choir. Phenomenal project. I cannot tell you what a privilege this has been.
Is the sheet music coming out with it?
Will come out next year. Yeah.
That's very exciting.
Yeah, it will definitely be published. We have to do things in stages because we're both busy with other projects. So we will release them one by one.
Oh, wow, that's exciting. Yes.
Yeah, it's unique really to have been part of this huge volume of new, accessible, beautiful music.
When the date comes and the links come out, you'll have to let us know, and I'll make sure I'll put the links on with this video. So even if this video comes out before all that comes out, I'll add it to it. So
thank you so much. It would be really nice for people to hear different music. It really is. It's filled the last 2 years of my life.
It's lovely working with composers as well, because you start to think about your playing differently, don't you? And you're telling them about, as you say, don't change it, but maybe you can use a different fingering. It's really nice on how you sort of reflect your own playing, isn't it? And you
definitely, I'm a better musician and a better harpist because of being challenged, and because I was working with him intensely for such a long time. I understood what he was trying to say. I could write a PhD on just his music for harp. I really get the feel of what he's trying to say. I now have the confidence to say to him, if a note doesn't feel right or sound right to me, I can say that, and there's this amazing honesty there that he won't take offense, and he will look at it and decide either no, that is what he wants, or say, which he has done, yeah, you're right, that doesn't quite work, let's try this. It's very special, and I can't wait to share it with people. Although it's my baby now, it's there for people to find and hopefully to perform and to play.
Well, and it's lovely that you've recorded it all already, because it's so hard for composers to go, this is my music, and you don't know how that's going to sound a lot of the time. So well, as professionals we do, because we can go and play it, but it might make some music so much more accessible if there's all these videos and recordings of all the music. It's not just composers you work with, you've got all of your own books, and you've just told me that you've got a new book that I haven't heard about either. Can you take us through some of your books, because they're mainly, of that I know of, beginner intermediate, aren't they?
Yes. Composing happens by accident for me. I was teaching people who needed specific pieces and I couldn't find them. So I started writing, for them. In fact, you mentioned Lucy Nolan. When she was having lessons with me from the age of 7, actually, I would often play a piece to Lucy. And depending on her reaction, I would know if it was worth pursuing. She was fantastic. Just her facial expression, what she'd say, would tell me whether this was good enough or not. So my pupils have really helped me know if something works or not. They are mainly teaching pieces, but I do get a lovely response from people. I work with a lot of adult players as well, and they're very comforted by pieces they can actually play. Some of it is challenging, but it's also, beautiful tunes. I don't believe in too much.
Yeah, exactly. They don't sound like, there's a lot of technique in them, but they don't sound techniquey, which I really like.
Although they are all very much firmly based in, good technique. But
they still sound beautiful. There's a lot of interplay between the hands. The left hand's not just sat idle, the left hand's very much in the songs.
So the latest one I've got here, because you warned me you were going to ask me, so I'm not the best publicist in the world, but so this has been out for over a year, but because I've been so busy with other things, I kind of put it on my website and then haven't really publicized it. But by the time the recording comes out, there will be a video of me playing it as well. I have done it, but again, it's finding the time to do all these things. So this one, very much inspired by some pupils who were not really reading intervals very well, and they needed more practice with intervals. So each of the pieces is based on an interval. My favourite one is Sunrise Procession, which just looks like this. It's based on the interval of a fourth, and you won't see many pieces just full of fourths. Because I think it's very important that we do give good technical grounding to students. I mean, really, it is essential. You cannot progress without it. But it has to be fun, so they're having fun with it. One of my best sellers is Summer Days. And this was inspired by my childhood holidays in Wales. All kinds of pieces in here, from Clouds in a Sunlit Sky, which was actually written for Harps Northwest. And they seem to be playing it all the time. So I think it's okay.
They like that.
They really enjoy it. The most advanced one, I don't even have out, but it's called the Sunken Forest Suite. And this is quite an interesting one because it was in lockdown when you had a chance to dream. Dreaming is good. Dreaming takes you to lovely places, and dreams do come true. Because when I look back at my life, my dreams came true. When I played in the orchestra for the first time, I literally got this feeling, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I never thought for 1 second I would be playing in a professional orchestra. And even today, 40 years later, when I get up with the orchestra for the bow at the Bridgewater Hall, I still go, wow, the little girl, she did it. And I'm proud of myself that I actually managed to achieve that with a lot of work and a lot of help from teachers and colleagues. But yeah, it does happen. So during lockdown, I dreamt that I might do this piece based on a Welsh legend with dancers, film and narrator. And last year I did it with Dance Syndrome, which is a company of dancers made up of people who have Down syndrome. And it was the most amazing experience I've had in my life. And I'm hoping we'll be able to record it and film it properly someday, because what they did was amazing and it fitted the piece. Yeah. So out of that dream, lockdown dream, a piece I never thought would happen.
Everything you've just said parallels with other Inspire podcasts where, I don't know if you know Meredith McCrindle, but she said her dream as a child was she saw this tapestry and it had a harpist in a very exquisite house, or a painting in a very exquisite house, and her dream was to wear the beautiful dress and be in an exquisite house. And now she's in Scotland wearing the beautiful, and you just work hard, keep that dream where you're going, connect with people, network with people. It's everything you've just said. Work hard, be kind, believe in yourself.
I think with advice to young musicians is to be an original. You don't have to follow everybody else's path. You don't have to win that competition or get that job in an orchestra or play the Handel Harp Concerto. Nothing against the Handel Harp Concerto, but you don't have to do all those things. If you want to do that, that's absolutely brilliant. Go for it. But if you want a different kind of path, then just think about that and don't be pressurized by anybody else to follow the wrong path. Because it's very easy to start on a route and to be labelled. And I speak from experience because I am very often introduced as the head of harp at RNCM, which I was very proud to have done for 29 years. But it was actually a very small part of my life. You have maximum 8 students. That's not going to be a full-time job. So it's very important that I had other things to feed me as well. Because when you teach, you give. So it's very important to have something for yourself. This is what happened during lockdown for me. I felt, although I had all these other projects, there was something that I needed to feed. I call it, I needed to feed my rose inside my heart. And that was composing and doing projects with creating new music that I had a major part in, which was the Ellaby experience. And that's why I decided to leave the RNCM, to focus on doing my own things, to teach harpists in a different way. Pupils came to me that would never have had access to me before, whether it was because they were international students who couldn't study in the UK, or they were adult players who thought, well, she's not going to teach us because she's head of harp at RNCM, which is kind of silly, really, because I think teachers should teach and should give back. Because I literally would not be here today if I hadn't had, 3 very important people in my life who gave me so much. And now it's time for me to give back, and I'm very happy to do that. So yeah, find what you want to do and follow your path. Don't try and copy anybody else's, and you'll never be happy pretending to be somebody else. So if you have something like you've done, I mean, you're the supreme example of somebody who has created so many different things unique to you, and that you haven't taken from anybody else. You've created it yourself, and you're giving to other people. And I think that's very, very special.
Thank you.
It's special.
Made my day.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think what you do, I wouldn't be sitting here saying yes to do this interview if I didn't, think very highly and respect what you've done. So,
the thing I loved most about what you just said is that rose in your heart. I normally say it's the imp on my shoulder. So you're giving me, oh, you want to do this now? Yeah. I think I like rose in your heart better. It's something blooming and beautiful and that grows. Whereas, yeah, I like that. Whereas I've always just said there's this little voice going, no.
And that you have to feed it. You have to feed it, otherwise it will die, or you won't have time to do it. And that's, that's the phase I'm at the moment. Who knows, in 5 years' time might be another phase. I don't know. But at the moment, I'm absolutely loving doing all these things that I didn't have time to do before, but always knew that I had to do.
Full circled. You've given back, you've worked hard, and now you're doing exactly what you set out to do. That's so lovely. I'm not sure I ever knew what I set out to do, because as you say, I was this is how you learn the harp, and this is the you go to London and you do this. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. And you do orchestra, and orchestra for me, I am very distractible. Just counting is not my thing. I get distracted and my brain goes everywhere in here. And it's just, I'm not calm enough. I don't think I have I've done a lot of orchestra, and it's always been a very tense experience for me. I love orchestral stuff, but I did feel, because I didn't go to orchestra, I was almost failing as a harpist at one point. I did have one teacher, which is, can you even count? And I'm, well, no, not really. I really struggle. That's the thing I struggle with. And it's lovely that you can say, no, you can. If you want to go to orchestra, yeah, that's brilliant. Or you can do a composer's project, or you can, I mean, there's amazing people with, Adriano's just told me about his new drums that he's got going on the harp. And there's so much exciting diversity out there now. You can follow where...
I just think it's safer to be in a box and to follow this path that musicians or stroke harpists tend to go. It's much easier. It would have been much safer for me to stay in this job that I had for a long time, and I obviously thought about it very, very deeply. But again, it was something else pulling me. The reaction of when I left was quite interesting, because people could not understand it. It's not something they would do, because it is more difficult. Far more difficult to do your own thing. It's far more difficult to branch out and say, I don't want to be an orchestral player, or I don't want to do weddings. Nothing wrong with that either, because you have to be your own person. You can't be somebody else's.
I think you should be really proud of your decision. I think it's a beautiful decision that you've made, and you look really happy, and everything you're doing is super exciting. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I suppose these decisions are never easy. And that's another thing for young players. You will get obstacles in life. You will get people saying, you can't do that. I wasn't allowed to have harp lessons when I started from my school, sadly, because I was a very good pianist, So I had to fight quite hard to even get my first harp lesson. But I am quite a stubborn person.
That doesn't surprise me. Well, even starting in, did you say secondary school? That's quite late, really.
Yeah.
That's impressive that you managed to get to conservatoire, because most people are thinking, okay, I need to be grade 8 by the time I'm 14 or whatever. So to be starting at that age and then going, no, I'm going to get there that quickly, that's amazing. That's an amazing achievement.
I think the piano helped. It was that grounding. Not everybody has to have that, but for me, that did help me. So that was good.
That's interesting, because I did piano after harp. Just before going, I decided conservatoire, I found you needed a second instrument. So I started learning violin, not knowing it had to be piano, and then dropped violin and took up piano. I found piano, so the finger patterns and everything, I found that so hard to compute the different no, you don't move your hand in the direction it's going. You stay put and that finger does that note. I found that very tricky. So I think it's very impressive that you did it the other way.
The other way, yeah. I've always been awkward, I think. My husband would say that. But the thing is, everybody's different, and it didn't work for you. And that's fine. Being a musician is never easy, but what you get out of it, I can't imagine another career that you'd get so much out of it. It's not easy. I mean, I was told when I was a teenager, because I'm double jointed, that I would never be a professional harpist.
Me too.
But I just feel all these obstacles that have been placed in front of me have really helped me. Because then, 10 years down the line, I had a pupil who was double jointed and who was told the same thing, and I would be able to share my experiences. So, you've got to listen to your inner voice and decide, well, am I going to do this, or am I going to listen to maybe the less informed and judgmental people? Because sadly, they do exist. Or you're going to find the people who can help you. I have a lot of students at the minute who come to me because they haven't got what they felt they needed from other teachers. Those other teachers have all been excellent in their way, but you have to find the right person for you. I've always said that. I'm not the right person for everybody either. For me, discipline in your training is very important. Also, joy in your playing for me is also very important, and finding your way. And so you have to have that right connection between teacher and pupil. And even when you don't have it initially, you've got to try and find the key to see.
Is that how you did you find a teacher that helped you? Because I always remember one of my teachers absolutely hated my thumbs. And I said, look, tell me what the reason is I'm doing this. Tell me the reason. And I work so hard, but tell me the reason. I don't understand. And she said, it's aesthetically pleasing. And in my head, nope, not doing it for that. Nope. I've got gammy thumbs. They're staying like that. They work how I like. If it was a sound production thing or something, I would have moved. I mean, I feel very sorry for that poor teacher, because I was not easy. It was not an easy student. But did you have a teacher that helped you find your way?
It was very late on in my studies that I was criticised for being double jointed. I'd never felt it had been a problem before. Again, a misinformed person. I'm aware that I can't really change how my fingers do collapse. I just work hard on technique, and I work on my sound, and I get around it.
When you say collapse, do you mean when your third finger bends in?
Yeah,
sort of thing.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
And what do you use to strengthen your fingers? I was hoping you'd come back to this.
My pick and mix exercises, which I literally have been going back to this week. I saw somebody mention it on Facebook, and I went, yeah, actually, I could do with doing some of those exercises. So I do very gentle, short exercises. I don't do anything more than that. I don't do lots of exercises in one go, which is why I devised these short lines, really, so that you wouldn't be put off by pages and pages of going through the same pattern over and over, which is tedious, and your brain, after a while, nothing goes in. When I am doing the technical work, I'm very focused on what I'm doing, and I'm trying to get my fingers to do what I'm telling them, and that's all I can do. And sometimes my fingers will collapse when I'm playing, but I work around it. I've done enough preparation to get out of it. I could go back to the beginning and start again, but I've chosen not to, and it was too late for me to really do that.
I don't think you need to do that. I don't think that's ever something anybody would ever tell you needed to do.
But some teachers, might take a pupil and take them back to the beginning, which I feel very small percentage of people, they might, but usually you can work with.
I had that. I got taken back by a teacher, and they gave me Grossi, and I was only allowed to do Grossi for a year, which is actually why now I hate Grossi, because I know there's a lot of value to Grossi, but I just can't look at the book without remembering the year of only Grossi.
Yeah,
I'm proud of myself for just doing that for a year, but
I'm just going to say it. It's just easier for people to say that. It's easier.
It was a tough year.
Yeah. There's always a way around it. There's always a way round these things, and I think there's so much people can do. Maybe if you're trying to train somebody to win the USA harp competition, well, fine, maybe you have to do Grossi for a year. In this day and age, is that why we're musicians? I don't think so.
I love that.
We're kind of want to express ourselves creatively through music, and we want to inspire others. And if you don't have a perfect technique, as long as you've got an adequate, a good foundation, blooming great sound, that you're interested in different kinds of repertoire, that you're curious about repertoire, and that you explore what is out there. There's a lot of original music for harp that's never played, and you can always, as you do, inspire composers to write yourself, and just go for it. And also make your own arrangements of songs or whatever you want. You'll never get bored with finding ideas out there.
Well, I'm inspired. I wish I'd known you a lot longer ago, but that's what these are for.
Yeah.
There are people out there. If you want to go harp and maybe you've met one harpist, there's so many different types of people and teachers and paths and everything. And that's just been incredible. Thank you so much. It's been great to hear about your life.
I would say to anybody, just enjoy the music. That's so important. And thank you for reaching out to me and giving me an opportunity to say my views and my inspirations in life. So good luck to anybody who's listening to this. And I hope it has given them a bit of confidence and inspiration.